It's the primary bottleneck for growing software companies. A major deal stalls, the stakes get high, and the founder must parachute in to save it. This chart shows the stark reality of the sales pipeline. Companies frequently see a 60% win rate when the founder pitches, compared to a 15% win rate for the standard sales team. Standard industry explanations for this gap often rely on unscalable factors. We assume the founder wins because of encyclopedic product knowledge or an innate, unteachable charisma. Treating a founder's success as a mystical personality trait actively prevents a company from growing. If closing revenue requires a unique aura that only one person possesses, the organization cannot scale. Founder charisma functions as an operational myth. The true distinction between a founder and a sales rep is structural and measurable. Consider a controlled A/B test. A founder and a rep pitch the exact same product at the exact same price using the exact same deck. The rep loses the deal, but the founder closes it. Since the words spoken are identical, we have to look for the variable driving the buyer's decision. This variable exists in the invisible metadata. By applying conversation analysis, we strip away the transcript entirely to capture the systematic organization of nonverbal cues. The founder's touch is interactional synchrony, a replicable sequence of verbal and physiological alignment. We no longer have to guess what makes a founder successful. We can read the structural physics of their conversations to clone their instincts. To read these physics, we redefine rapport as a structured, tripartite system consisting of mutual attentiveness, positivity, and coordination. This chart maps the Tickle-Degnan and Rosenthal temporal model of rapport. The required composition of these three elements changes as a deal progresses over time. Early discovery calls require exceptionally high positivity to establish initial warmth. As the timeline progresses, however, that requirement steadily drops. Simultaneously, the coordination variable rises, crossing over positivity to dominate the late-stage negotiation phase. Founders instinctively execute this crossover. They shift from friendliness to precise structural alignment when it is time to close. Untrained reps often fail by forcing high positivity too late into the sales cycle. This violates the buyer's interactional expectations and erodes trust. Successful closing requires reading the social clock of a deal and prioritizing behavioral coordination over simple friendliness as the stakes get high. We have to look at the mechanics of how a founder executes this late-stage coordination over a digital line. The process relies on the chameleon effect, the innate human drive to non-consciously mimic a partner's physical posture and mannerisms to build affiliation. In modern B2B sales environments, this biological drive translates into verbal mimicry, measured as linguistic style matching. LSM is a metric that evaluates the degree of coordination between speakers by tracking their use of function words. LSM focuses on aligning the cadence, tone, and specific use of function words, like pronouns and prepositions, rather than the repetition of industry buzzwords. Observe the founder's response. It dynamically mirrors the exact function words and syntactic structures used by the prospect. This generates a high LSM score, which serves as a marker for real-time dyadic alignment. Matching a buyer's linguistic style triggers a deep, subconscious safety response. It makes the founder a highly legible and safe interaction partner. The trait we call charisma is simply high-speed linguistic mirroring that makes the buyer feel understood through behavioral alignment. We also examine the temporal gaps in conversation, focusing on the milliseconds of silence between spoken turns. Emergent leadership in a meeting is determined by turn-taking precision and response latency rather than talk-time dominance. Response latency is the duration of the pause between speaker turns. Founders achieve synchrony by matching the specific temporal gaps established by the prospect. Failing reps typically show high interruption frequency and erratic, mismatched pauses that shatter the conversational rhythm. When an objection arises and the synchrony breaks, the founder must stabilize the interaction. Founders immediately deploy specific repair mechanisms. They use active empathetic listening markers and rapid repair receipts, verbal cues that acknowledge the prospect's stance, to stabilize the flow. Sales dominance involves controlling the temporal rhythm of the conversation and seamlessly repairing breaks in the connection. B2B communication has transitioned from an intuitive soft skill to a sequence of measurable interactions. We can now track abstract psychological concepts as hard, auditable pipeline metrics. Modern AI platforms extract these exact behavioral baselines directly from call recordings. These systems succeed by focusing strictly on the objective mechanics of conversational behaviors, rather than attempting to infer subjective intent or feelings. Digitizing interactional synchrony allows a company to transform a founder's gut instinct into rigorous, actionable data. Escaping hero mode requires leadership to change their training protocols, as charisma remains unteachable. You can, however, train a rep to control their response latency, measure their linguistic style matching, and audit their conversational repair attempts. Modern sales enablement provides reps with the behavioral telemetry of a closed deal, replacing the traditional reliance on static pitch decks. Reps must deliberately practice these structural mechanics of human connection, repeating them until the coordination becomes automatic muscle memory. Trust functions as an engineered state of interpersonal synchrony. Once it is measurable, it is scalable across an entire organization.